And welcome to Podcast of the Beholder. I'm Bill with my good friend and co-host Chuck Hoskins. How you doing, my friend?
What is up, Bill? It's so good to do this again. We took some time off for the holidays, do some family stuff, and now we're getting ready to jump back into it.
Exactly, yeah. I'm excited, man. You know, and like we've always said, when we have time, we do it. And that sometimes that actually that makes a good thing sometimes because then you can really dig into what you're doing and sort of kind of you know
Right.
really get into it, and you have a lot to talk about and stuff. So that's what makes it
What
cool.
as spring is upon us, I'm ready to start hitting some a couple of these a month, get some stuff
I know,
done.
I know, right?
We've,
Sounds
we've
good to
got
me.
a ton to talk about.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
I know we had talked off the air about one of the things that we do on these shows is before we get into the album is show your latest acquisitions. I'll start with one of mine first. This is unrelated, but I
okay.
just got this in the mail a couple days ago. This is my vinyl Dance of Death. A lot of people don't like the artwork and kind of frown upon the post reunion stuff. It's my favorite from them. So new. I haven't even put it in the sleeve yet.
Oh, nice. I
So what
love
do you
that.
got?
Actually, I kind of wonder if that kind of dance of death there is actually
Hmm.
kind of supposed to have kind of like something to do with maybe like the Mask of the Red Death, like the masquerade ball kind of, you know?
Yeah, the song is very much kind of like that, where he just kind of stumbles upon these people having some weird, party and
Yeah.
summoning. Everybody's got their own interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But I don't hate the album cover like a lot of people hate it. It doesn't bother me.
Don't bother me neither. I actually thought it was a pretty cool cover myself.
I've seen people alter it where it's just the guy with the sickle, and that looks probably a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it. And I'll show you my second one. Finally got this on vinyl. I got this at a local record store, and
Nice.
I had a busy week. And this is one I'm so proud of. This is my Hardwired box set. I paid $29 for this because it came to the store open, and it had a little sticker right here. And I spent about a half hour just really fine tuning it, and you can still barely see it, but it had never been played, and it just came to that store opened, and I guess the one guy who was there that was going to buy it didn't like the sticker, so I got a great deal on that.
Nice.
And my last thing I'll show real quick. This is my umpteenth jillion copy of this, but this is it's blue. This is the Walmart one, so I had to have it.
Sweet.
So glad to have that. So let's see what you got there.
All right. Well, as far as music, the only thing I picked up lately is the new release by Ashes of Aries, unrelated, but it's Emperors and Fools, which is all really awesome CD. I recommend it to people if you love Matt Barlow from Eister, you need to check that out. It's a killer album.
Today's Matt Barlow's birthday. Happy
Yes,
birthday,
it
Matt
is.
Barlow.
Happy birthday, band! If you happen to see this. And the next thing I picked up was a new Hammerfall,
Ah,
um, and it's called Hammer of Dawn.
is that a 21 or 22 release?
It come out just probably about a couple weeks ago, so it's a
Okay.
22 release. Yep. And something, speaking of your vinyl you got there, I picked these up and I really love them. They're gatefold sleeves. Okay, you can get them on Amazon.
Ah,
They come 25 to a pack, and some of them you get have a little you know how when you buy the covers for the CDs and they have that little flap, you know,
mm-hmm.
plastic cover sleeves. Some of them come like that, but these don't. They actually have the actual opening like the regular sleeves, but those are really cool. And just to show you, That here's my load version, and I have the sleeve on it, and it opens up and everything just like you would whatever, because it has a little slit right here in the middle that makes it where it goes, so you can open
Nice.
everything. Yep.
Now, have you used that on one that's just that's a gatefold, but that's a single vinyl yet? Like,
Yeah.
is it too loose or is it fit fine still?
No, they still fit fine.
Huh. You know, I got a Kiss 76 bootleg probably around Christmas time, and it
Mhm.
came with one of those on there, and I thought that maybe it was just a special deal that they put them on all of them. But I
Mhm.
realize now that it just came with the sleeves. I'm sure if I buy 25, I'm going to be hooked and want it on every single one of my gatefolds.
Yeah. I ran out of these because I wanted to buy some more. I want to buy some more because I still got a few more gate sleeves I wanted to do. But
Right.
I would
And
recommend this brand. I'm sorry, it says Vinyl Fever, because actually these are just a tiny bit bigger. And because I know
right.
I bought a pack here probably about a couple months back, and they were really tight on your albums, and that some of them were kind of hard to get in, especially if you had the thicker records, or whatever.
Right.
Those fit really, really good. They have a little bit of extra kind of wiggle room or whatever.
Now,
So,
when I bought my regular vinyl sleeves, I bought the oversized ones because some of the regular ones are hard when you got a gatefold with two records. Like you said, it was tight, and I hate that. And
um,
some of these, like with Maidens Live and stuff, you're even getting three vinyls sometimes.
and there's a trick to that too. What I do is I'll still put a gatefold on there, but I'll put it like so when it opens up like this, the gatefold will go on and it'll be on the front and the back, but the other side just slides in and you still close it like you normally would, but you still got your front and your back kind of protected or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's a great idea. I'm glad you showed me that.
Yep.
Now your load there, that is that an original pressing or is that one of the blackened?
No, this is if I'm not mistaken, this is original. This is Electra. Um because it still has the old Tennessee fan club in there. Yep, Electra Records. Yep.
Okay,
So this is original.
nice.
Yep.
I'll show you mine before we start. And this is some news. I know we haven't discussed it. I haven't bought mine on vinyl yet because I seen about a week or two ago where they were starting to take where Metallica had said that they was wanting stuff for the box sets for load and reload.
Yep.
Did you see that also?
I saw that. Yes, I did.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that. And I hate to buy it on vinyl and then in
Yeah.
1 year just get it again. So I don't mind waiting for that one. It's so close,
Yeah.
to being released. So
Yeah. I understand that, man. Totally.
so
And of course, I have the CD too. Um, and that's the Electra release. That's original. And
yeah, I have. Go ahead.
and I also have this. It's a single. It's Mama Said single. It's actually got Mama Said, So What Live, Creeping Death Live, and Mama Said early demo version or whatever.
Cool. I have a lot of the load and reload singles, so I'll get those out. I didn't even think to get those out this time, so I'll get those out next time.
Well, that's cool. No biggie. And I have this I've had forever, and I've never even opened it. But it's a single or whatever. It's red, but it's got until it sleeps on one side, and on the other side it's 2x4 live, and until it sleeps the Herman Melville mix or whatever. So Truth is, I've never even listened to it.
Okay. One of those singles has a very cool version of the Kill Ride medley. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember buying it just for that when it first came out. And boy, another thing, Load kind of peaked when CD singles started coming out.
Yep.
Like I remember, like for the Black and especially for Justice, there were cassette singles. Did you buy cassette singles when they came out?
Once in a while, I did.
Okay. I would buy. I mean, if my favorite band had one, I mean, they were only back then like something like 249, and even then I was a collector. Like I'd like to have that, and
Yeah.
if they had an extra live track or something bonus. But for the Load albums, was it that's when they did the Motorache, right? It was
Uh,
the it was the Load, not the Reload, right?
I
Where they
think
put
so.
so I remember buying all those and like searching those out because I'm like, this is huge. There's two Metallica or two more songs that you could just get for $5.99 or whatever they were. I think $7.99. I can't remember what they was in stores back then.
Yeah.
But I remember searching those out. And well, I started even single wise with Justice because I remember hearing Bread Fan and I was in love with Bread Fan, and that's back when you could only get it on singles.
Yeah.
It was on the Harvester and it was on one of the ones also, but in the Prince, and then when So What came out and Killing Time and uh, Stone Cold Crazy. So Metallica's always used to that. I mean, that's one thing I love the easiness of Spotify and stuff, but sometimes I miss that CD single
Yeah.
with the extras. I really miss that, and I think that kind of stopped after Death Magnetic. They didn't do any solid releases for Hardwired,
No. No.
so I miss singles.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you showed that. It was an added part to the collection. And
Yep.
Metallica's always so good about just not making them. Here's track 1 and here's track 7. Nothing special. They always put live tracks and covers, and
Oh yeah.
we'll get into covers another day
Yep.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about your first recollection and everything about Load. Tell me what your thoughts was when it came out and everything surrounding it.
When it first come out, I remember seeing the cover. I think I was in Walmart or something. And I was like, huh, that's different. And I bought it. And of course I didn't mind you know, the big controversial of the picture on the back and all that stuff. You know, I bought it for the music and I took it home and I was like, yeah, this is different. But I embraced it. And I remember like I think one time I had saw them with playing, I think it was like not too long after I bought it. I think I seen them somewhere on TV and they were playing like King Nothing live. And then I think I wound up seeing the video and then oh god. And it just kind of went from there and I've always enjoyed this record. Um I know this album is one of those ones that gets a lot of controversy from the diehard Metallica fans, but I think it's a solid piece of work myself.
Yeah. I think that a lot of fans, and I listen to a lot of podcast reviews stuff. I enjoy that in my downtime at night. And I think a lot of people are coming around. I think it's aged well with Metallica fans. And like this music it's aged very well. And we're going to get into the song by songs today. But I remember getting it and being totally okay with the haircuts. Jason was already there anyway,
Yeah.
and some of the iconic rock people for me, Kerry King, Scott Ian, you know, the bald, Matt Barlow went short haircut. To me, that doesn't affect anything, So the look, I mean, I know that they did the Cuban suits and the makeup and stuff, and I get that if you're used to the Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Puppets days, there's a certain look that goes with that. I get it, but I embrace it. I didn't have any problem with the album cover. I think that's aged well.
Yeah.
I dig it. It's different, and I listened to it today, and I was like, God, I listened to the first 7 tracks to and from. So that's what we were covering today.
Yep.
And man, there's not a filler. It's aged so well, and I can't wait to start talking about it. So first track, "Ain't My Bitch." I'll start this one off.
Okay.
I think it's a very solid track. I think it's and I think we'll go back and forth on this. Load gets a certain fandom about negativity, but there's so many of these songs that could have easily went on the Black Album. I'm not saying every one of them,
Yeah.
but Ain't My Bitch is just I mean, it doesn't sound that far from the Black.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, there was a huge difference between Justice and Black, but I think that some of these songs aren't that far from Black. And I think that they expanded. I think that James' vocals soared on this album. I think Bob Rock did an amazing job. I think that there's some experimentations that I don't think any of them failed. And I think if you go in saying this isn't the first 4 albums, I'm not going to enjoy it, you're probably right. But if you go in and with an open mind, and there's some bangers on here, and there's one song that I would easily, maybe 2 that I would put in my top 10 of all songs. So I think "Ain't My Bitch" is a solid song. I think it's catchy. I got no problems with it. It's a solid tune. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, man. And and me and a buddy of mine, we used to joke. We'd go around and joke around, and we would talk about ex girlfriends or something, and she'd do something, and I said, "Yeah, ain't my bitch." You know what I'm saying? It was kind of funny, but because we'd always reference a Metallica song or whatever, but. No, I love it, man. I think it's a groovy song. I think it goes along, man, and it's one of those songs that's just kind of yeah, I get it. And you know, I don't know what to say, man, other than like I agree with you. It could be on the Black Album, because if you think about it, I mean some of the songs, especially more there towards the end of the Black Album, you sort of kind of had a little bit more of a like kind of songs that were, if you look at it, like I'll give you an example, like off the Black Album, My Friend of Misery. If you really think about it, that could have been on Load, you
Struggle
know?
Within also is what I
Yeah,
was thinking that you were going to say. We're very, just a couple
yeah,
riff changes from being on Load. I agree
yeah,
totally.
yeah. And so I mean, I love the song, and I love how it grooves and just how it sounds, and it's a rocking solid song, man, and I've got nothing bad to say about it.
I agree. 2x4.
Yep.
You
Yep.
want to do this one first?
Yeah, the next song is 2x4, and it's another it's like Ain't My Bitch. It's like just kind of, I think a little bit slower, but it's a groovy song, and it's something you can get into. And I agree again. I mean, it's a song that could have easily been on the Black Album, and I think that each one of these songs on here, especially like 2x4 and some of these things, they have these, they're just like really great songs that most people overlook just by the titles and stuff. And like 2x4, and I will admit some of these songs kind of have kind of a weird lyrics to them sometimes, but that's what makes them cool. And 2x4 is just one of those songs that you just cannot deny that it's a great song. And I find that, you know, I actually, to be honest with you, when I make a Metallica playlist, I wind up putting a lot of the songs off this album on a playlist. So it's playlist worthy for me, you know.
Nice. Yeah, 2x4 is definitely an underrated track. It's groovy, man. It's very, you know, it's got that driving beat, and I love Jane's vocals on it. I think that you know, the departure for the long songs to from Justice to Black was one thing, but I think they really stepped up vocally. I think this is kind of James coming out vocal party on this album for some of these songs. And I was watching Some Kind of Monster yesterday, and he was doing that, you know, how he's got that tape where he does the me, you know, he does all that stuff. And he heard his vocals on the Black Album doing So What, and I wonder how that, if that had anything to do, because this is the first album after that. I wonder, you know, if he felt like he had to change his vocals to protect himself, or it was just an evolution. But to me, this pocket of Load and Reload, I think James sounds as good as he does anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's James albums, and some of these songs he just takes over like he never did before. It was not that he sung bad on any of them, but his voice is a highlight on this album for me, for sure. So 2x4 is just, it's catchy, it's groovy. I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like you said, it could easily be put on a live show or a playlist. So The House That Jack Built is a similar track. You know, this is the one that often gets crap for having the what's the box called for the solo.
Oh,
I know what that's called. Like,
is it a foot pedal?
well, it's the same thing they used on that Bon Jovi song.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The talk box or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's the tempo is different, and I just really dig it. It's unlike any other. Like, The House That Jack Built is a song that you can't say it could be on Black or Rydell. It's an entity all to itself, and I dig that about it. I think it's a time stamp to this album, and I dig the crap out of it.
Exactly. I feel the same way. And you know, like, and you know, talking about this, and I kind of feel that Metallica on this record too, sort of kind of, I think this was kind of like, and no pun intended, but it's like we're letting our hair down. We're just kind of relaxing. We're going to play what we feel, play what we want to, and what comes out comes out. And you know, because this album like has so many different, like, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this wrong about Metallica. I love every album that Metallica's put out. Okay, well, some parts of it, but anyway, this album has a lot of highs and lows. It's like a kind of a roller coaster ride, And I love it because, but a good roller coaster ride at that. And what I mean by that is that it's groovy and then it's slow and then it's hard and it's groovy and then it's slow and it's kind of like, and like you said, James's vocals on this album, and the playing and some of the arrangements that they're really cool. I kind of feel this was an experiment. This was more of an experimental album from
Absolutely.
Metallica, and I think that's why, when you really dig deep into this record, right, you'll find that, like, I find myself sometimes even today, like I'll listen to it and I'm like, I heard something like I didn't hear before, and it's kind of like, man, how many times have I listened to this record and never heard that? You know what I'm saying? So it's always like you're finding these little bits and pieces that maybe you just didn't pay attention to it before, and now you're hearing it, and it's like so cool. And it's like this album, just like the song, and like you were saying, this song fits nowhere else but Load, and that's what makes this cool, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like putting Batman with Marvel in a way. It doesn't really fit, but yet it's awesome in its own, but in a group it makes sense.
Well, and it's a lot of times noted that the music industry had changed in this time also. I mean, the metal that we traditionally loved in the 80s, be it, Priest and Maiden or Cinderella, Rat, all that stuff was to the wayside for a band that they loved at the time, which was Alice in Chains and, Soundgarden, and everything was different.
Yep.
And I think that, I mean, they did 90s rock a lot better than Kiss did with, trying to do a disco album in 80. I mean, they put their stamp on it, and it kept its integrity. It was by no means a ripoff, but it was changing times, and different influences, and most music, unless you're Slayer or AC/DC, is going to sound different in the late 90s than it did in the 80s and in the 2010s. So I have no problem with the influence at the time. There's some. I'd love to see how many times I pull this out compared to other ones, because I think it's a lot more than I do other ones. I think I've probably spun this one more than Ride the Lightning in the last 2 years. It doesn't mean I like it more. It's just I go to it a lot. A lot. So.
Truth be told, so to me, and I noticed I found myself for a lot of years there, this was my go-to record. It was just, and like you said at the beginning of the thing, it's aged well. It stood the test of time.
Sure has.
Mm-hmm.
Sure has. So the next one is a lot of people's first song that they heard on the album. I remember seeing the video, Until It Sleeps. Back then, MTV was still a thing, and it was getting pretty significant airplay. And I thought it was cool as shit. I love the video. I mean, it's out there with with some of the stuff going on in the video, but I mean, I had no problem with it. It was a cool video. I think the song is great.
Yeah,
I love that it's not. It's got that slow build. Where do I take this pain of mine? I mean, it builds to it, and this album is good at that. And we're going to touch on another song like that builds. But I love the build. It takes off, and I mean, it's still as fresh as it ever was for me. I dig the crap out of the song.
Yeah. I enjoy this song too, and like you said, the video was kind of out there, but that was Metallica, man, and it was like, if you kind of think about it, the Sandman album video was kind of out there too, and if you really look at it, if you want to, if you really want to go down that road, Until It Sleeps ain't much different from The Unforgiven. If you kind of look at it, to a certain extent, you know,
it's definitely a sister video.
Yeah, it has that feel to it, and it has that kind of, you know, that well, I don't want to say groove or that riff or what it just has that feeling to it. And when you look at like doing some of the stuff in the video and stuff like it, like you said, it could almost be a sister song to The Unforgiven, because it's just, you know, just the video with all the crazy stuff going on and all that. And I really think, and I love this song, but I think the video kind of helps bring this song a little bit more to life, which is pretty cool. And I always tell people, if you want to listen to Until It Sleeps, go watch the video and then listen to the song, you know, and you know, or whatever. So I really dig it, man. I think it's up there with the other 3 songs on the album that we've covered so far. And so see, that's why I say, like, I don't understand why people bash on this thing so much, because like I said, I mean, it almost has that Unforgiven feel to it. And if people love Unforgiven, how can you not like Until It Sleeps, you know?
Well said. Well said. So this one's you first, King Nothing.
King Nothing. This is actually I think the first song I heard. For some odd reason, I call Until I Sleep Later, and King Nothing was one of the first songs I had heard. And why at the time I heard it then, I don't know. I don't know if I realized that Metallica had an album out at the time or whatever. And so I think I sort of kind of caught it then. But that's another one of those videos that's kind of weird. I mean, it's them playing in the snow, and it's like you got this guy walking around with his crown. It looks like a Burger King crown on his head, whatever. You know, and you're seeing all this weird stuff going on, and I just think it's cool. And actually, I think this song right here, King Nothing, is just so like, it's just so badass, man. And when I heard the song, and I was like, why is people so hating on this so much? You know, I think King Nothing kicks ass, and James's vocals is great on it. The playing is great on it. I mean, I don't see where anybody could like this song. I just think it's awesome. And it's one of the
good.
I just want to say, I think it's kind of one of the more rocker songs on this record too.
Yeah. When I was listening to the 7 tracks today, this is the one I thought was most comparable to the Black Album. I think you change the production a little bit. It fits right in there. I love the bass intro, and you know, the kind of the slow build, but then once it gets going, that riff gets going, it's got a kind of a sad but true kind of, you know, it's somewhere, it's sad but true meets Enter Sandman. And it's James snarls on there is just great. I love his cadence on that. Wish I may, wish I might. Yeah. I think it sounds tremendous. I think the drums are great. The solo's great. You know, I think this is everything lined up on this song. I think it's a great song, and for some reason, it really gets ignored on a regular basis live.
Yeah,
you know, past the Reload days, I'm not sure. And Metallica is great about mixing up their set list, but I'm not sure how many times this song came back. And it's and we're gonna have to eventually do a Cunning Stunts episode, because I love Cunning Stunts, and I think with this album, I remember when it first came out on VHS, I watched the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And the Load song sounds great on there. Yeah. I had no problem with their look, and you know, I thought they sounded fantastic.
Oh hell yeah. Now is that the only official release they have from this album as far as like concert? I think.
Yes, is Cunning Stunts. They did a video collection, but that has all the way up to Saint Anger.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the only official release so far until the box set from that era.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that, and I meant, and I'm glad you said that the comparison between Sad But True and Sandman, because I hear that too. And I wasn't sure. I wanted to say that, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to say it. So I'm glad you did and use that comparison or whatever. Because
yeah, it reminded me of it, like I said, and not in a like this is just a Sad But True ripoff. It was just had that kind of flow.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like, this isn't that far from Black Album. Why do people not get this? So yeah. So the next one's an interesting one. Hero of the Day. Another single, another video. The video is kind of weird on this one. Metallica doesn't actually play in it. They are just on like game shows and the boys watching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the video, but I think the song's really good, and I think this is a song that S&M really made better.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard it even acoustic, and I think it's a solid track, and it starts rocking towards the end.
Yeah.
I think this and Mama Said on this. That'll be on our second one, and a few other ones is kind of on the hate side. I don't mind it. I think it's catchy. I love the chorus.
Yep.
The video is weird, and then like the little robotic ant and stuff at the end. I don't know what they were thinking, or even if they even had they might have just said, "Here, this is what we're doing." But I think it's a solid track. I have no problem with it. I was singing right along with it today.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to the video. I mean, it was kind of the only cool part I did love about the video, though, is when I seen the Metallica dressed up in like that Western gear. And when I seen it, I was like, James could be in a Western. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, there's like a little scene on there where they're like, and I think it's like when these guys flipping through the TV and you see them in like in a Western movie, kind of like almost in there. And I was like, man, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I get it, man. The video is weird as shit. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the videos that I never go back and catch myself watching. And this song is one of those songs I think is better live. It's a good track. I mean, and a solid track, but that to me I think it finds its life when they play it live. And they don't, and this is another one of those tracks that they don't play a lot either. Maybe once in a blue moon. But but when they do, man, they kill it live. And I would love that. So that's why I'm kind of waiting. That's why I'm kind of anxious to when this box set comes out for Load to hear some of this stuff that maybe we haven't heard of them do live with some of these songs, because I really think that we're going to get blown away when we hear some of the stuff off the remastered box set.
And one thing I love about as the time gets older, more stuff was recorded. Like, I mean, they had a lot of stuff for the Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning box sets, and that was early on when they didn't have a lot of money.
Yep.
So I mean, at this point, they've got the money and they're recording a lot of stuff.
Yep.
So I hope, and I know there's a lot of these songs that they pulled out for one-time deals, and I really hope that we get a lot of that stuff on the box set.
Yep.
So, and now the last track that we're going to talk about today, Bleeding Me. I think it's your turn to go first.
Yeah, Bleeding Me is I'm going to say I think this is probably my second favorite song off this album. Um, when I don't know what it is with the song. It's one of those songs that's always caught me and it's grabbed me, and I love the song. I love that that just that whole like riff or whatever. It's just
Right.
it's so groovy, man, and it's you know and the lyrics aren't bad either. And I don't know, man. It's because I love and James's vocals on this, especially when he's like, "I'm digging my way to something," and it's just like, man, I'm like, where did this guy come from? It's like because I honestly feel, and this is just my honest opinion, and I'm not taking nothing away from anything. The Black Album is a great album, but I kind of felt James was in a box when he done the Black Album, and he had to sound a certain way, he had to do a certain thing, his vocals had to be a certain. On this album, it was like, hey, we're gonna throw Hail Marys and see what happens, and I love that, and that's why that's why I love a lot of songs on this record, man. It's just James is his vocals are just killer, man. And Bleeding Me, if you don't enjoy Bleeding Me off this record, then there's just something wrong with you. I don't know, because I just think it's one of the best songs off the record.
Bleeding Me is actually my second favorite track off the album as well. I love the build up, like you said, the slow, to something better, and I love the Clay building the song, and then it teases the big part, and then it takes it back down, and then when it finally gets to that part where it just rips up, and it da da, and
Yep.
it just goes to another, almost like puppets wise, as far as that album, as far as it going to so many different places, or maybe Fade to Blackish, and it's just the song has aged so well, and this is one of those tracks that, man, I would live, I'd pick this over Enter Sandman any night of the week. Like if they said we only got time for one more, what do you want to hear? Sandman, I'd be like, Bleeding Me, man.
Yep.
It's such a good track. It's one of the longer ones, which I don't mind at all. What is it, about 7-8 minutes?
Yeah, something like that. Does it have the?
I don't know whether
Yeah, I think it has a length on them nowhere.
818.
818.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
right.
I know.
It's on the CDs. I forgot about that.
Yep. And I was listening to Mandatory Metallica. We have a. Do you guys have that where you live?
Depends on the station though.
In the wintertime, my wife leaves for work right after 10 o'clock, and I'll go out and start her car up in the wintertime, and at 10 o'clock, a station of ours has Mandatory Metallica. And Bleeding Me was on the other night when I was sitting in the car and I was jamming to it, and I forgot that they play an edited version, and it cut out a part. I'm like, oh dang it, I was like, I mean, it was still a good track to hear, but it's such a good song, and it doesn't. No, and I love Maiden, but I think Maiden is on a kick of where they feel like they have to do long songs.
Yep.
And sometimes they want to make songs long, whereas this one is long for a reason, and it's totally justified.
Yeah.
And I would put this track in my top 10 of all time favorite Metallica songs.
Me too.
I love it. I think it's everything I want in Metallica. And to me, it would sit on a shelf right next to Battery or Master of Puppets or Whiskey in a Jar.
Yep.
It's right up there with some of my absolute favorites.
Oh yeah. No, I totally agree, man.
So I mean, It sounds great live. I mentioned the S&M earlier. It sounds good on S&M also.
Yep. And there was a video they had done, and I don't think it was ever officially released except through the fan can. It was one of the fan cans, and it was a live show. I think it was in like Philadelphia, I think, and it was for fan club members only show, and or it was like a free show, but I think it was more for like fan club members or something. But anyway, they played the song on that concert on that VHS tape, and man, it sounded so great live.
Was that in like a parking lot?
Yeah. Yep.
I used to have a crappy VHS version of that, and I think they did like Helpless on that one too, because I remember like really digging. They pulled out some rarer tracks for that, and I dug that.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember having a really shitty VHS version of that.
Yep.
Yep. So, anything else you want to discuss with Load Part 1? I don't want to get into Part 2.
Let's see. If there's anything
Now, and while you're thinking about that, the first single of the album was "Until It Sleeps." Is that what looking back now, did they make the right choice on that one, or would you have went something different?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I would think maybe if they would have came out with King Nothing first, maybe people would have had a little bit more of a kind of, okay, yeah, it's not Black Album, but it's crunchy and it's kind of heavy and it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's Black Album-esque kind of. And
Right.
so I would think, but I still don't think it was a bad choice. I mean,
No.
maybe that's me, but that's why I'm here.
Right. Let me ask you this fantasy question here.
Okay.
1996, Load album's released. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Metallica has long hair.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same regular emblem. They didn't go with and a lot of people at this time, I see our Metallica. I have no problem with that Load Reload Metallica logo. It doesn't bother me at all. But they changed the logo. They introduced those stars. If you have an album that's called, I'm look at this. Let's say we call the album King Nothing instead of Load. It's got a skull with a snake coming out of it. They got long hair on the back. How is this album perceived different than the way it is right now?
I think a lot of people would have accepted it a lot more. I don't know that they still would have been when they heard it. I don't know that their feelings about it would have changed. But I mean, and then again, it may have. But like you said, like we've said before, Jason cut his hair during the Black Album tour.
Right.
And he never got no flack for that, at least not that I know of. So why all this time later, when the rest of the three guys in the band cut their hair, it's such a big deal? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
And I do believe that was the misconception of this record. If Metallica, and I honestly believe even if Metallica would have used the same logo they had right there on this album, and like you said, they would have put like the skull, or like a skull with a Black Album on it. It would have been called King Nothing, and on the back they had that Black Album look to it.
Right.
I think people would have. They would have been, oh, it's like a part 2 of the Black Album, kind of. It's like a continuation. And I really do believe it would have been accepted more. It's just back in those days, man, when you got to understand something, and I think I know where fans are coming from. Metallica become the biggest band in the world when they released a Black Album.
Sure did.
From here to here, and in less than a year's time. you know, and they toured everywhere around the world playing 300 and something dates, you know, and Metallica just they were everybody's heavy metal band. And then, like you said, you come out with Load, and you're looking at, and you got these four guys on the back, and like Jason said, or one of the guys said, in the behind the music, you got them smoking, drinking martinis, smoking cigars in Cuban pimp suits, you know.
Right.
It says Metallica on it, but who are these guys? You know, and I don't necessarily. It's not. I've never been one of image. You know what I'm saying? I think a person should, but I do believe, and I'm going to say this, and I think one of the things that kind of took a death toll to this record was it showed Metallica evolving. Okay,
Exactly.
as people, as us, right? You have to, like, it's like when you evolve from a teenagers to into your 20s. Okay, you become not a teenager no more. You become more of an adult, more of a man, or more of a woman. Your priorities change. The way you see things change. Um, you know, your outlook on life is different. Everybody has to evolve. You know, that'd be like somebody to say, "Oh, I wouldn't drive a minivan." And you know, back in those days, you had the long hair and all. And now here you are with a wife, two kids, in a minivan. And you know, is that considered selling out? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, truthfully, I mean, you look at it in one of those things. People evolve, and why can't Metallica evolve along with the times? And I never understood that, why people got so upset about it.
That's well said. And I'm kind of looking. I'm thumbing through the booklet here. It's got a very good booklet, the CD.
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely at the CD era because Black Album. I mean, the first four albums had either 9 or 10 songs.
Yeah.
And then Black had 12. And then this one has 14. So we're definitely at the CD era. And it's got a lot of cool pictures and stuff in here.
Yeah.
But I remember this book reminds me very U2. Are you familiar with U2 at all?
Yeah. Yep.
It's got like a Octoon Baby kind of feel to it, you know, when you look at these things. And I remember getting this in 96 and like saying, okay, this is cool. I don't mind the pictures, but I hated that they didn't have the complete lyrics in there.
Yeah.
It had just like a little paragraph, and I was like, why did they do that for?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a sign of the times changed, and you know, like they evolve, they try, you know, and not everything's going to always hit with everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, you know, there's a picture of Lars in here with a fur coat on. When it comes down to it, you know, if they would, it doesn't matter when I'm listening to Bleeding Me, you know.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a very talked about period. It's very polarizing.
Oh yeah.
And it's fun, and I love to hear people's takes on it. And I listened to a ranking the other night, and somebody ranked this above Master of Puppets, and I was like, you know what, good for you.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, you might not think so, and some of it is when you got on the train. I mean, if you have been there since Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning like me, you know, you might see this as the newer stuff you don't enjoy as much, but there's a lot of people that the first time they heard Metallica was the Until It Sleeps video or the King Nothing video.
Yep.
So this is their, you know, time. Yep. This is their Master of Puppets.
Yep.
So, you know, it's a cool time in the band. I enjoy the shit out of Load and Reload. It makes me want to go from Load Part 2 and then do Reload.
And you know something, and we're getting kind of close, but I'll try to be as quick as I can. But I believe the reason why this album has stood the test of time is I actually kind of think this album was ahead of its time. If you think about it, look how diverse now. We're like a lot of artists, doing different things and concept albums, and they have these different, all this up and down. And you like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, and I hate to say this, that's like you go out and buy a country record today, and you might have 3 or 4 really traditional country songs on it, and the rest of it sounds like pop country. Okay,
Right.
Then you have, whatever. But you got to think about something. A lot of the people I know now were, teenagers during this time, or they were becoming of teens, and maybe their mom or dad, or they bought this record for them or whatever, or they spent their allowance on it. And like you said, this was their Black Album or their low or their Master of Puppets or whatever. Right. And at that time, man, this was what was in. But I really think now, when you go back to look at it, this album was ahead of its time. I really do. Because I honestly think if I was coming up in this era, like today, if I was a young person, say I was 20 years old today, I would probably find this my favorite album in the Metallica catalog, maybe more than the older stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a more of a diverse record where you basically had the first 5 albums were, well, the first 4 is really more considered thrash metal albums, and then the Black Album's kind of considered more of just a metal album or whatever. Some people even call it a rock record, but truth is, man, I think that's the reason why, because you've got so much diversity and stuff and music today that maybe Metallica saw this coming and they were like, hey, we're going to put out something that's revolutionary. It's going to stand the test of time. And that's what they done.
Well, you talk about being ahead of its time. This is 96. And I don't want to talk about the song itself, but Mama Said is something we're going to talk about in part 2. Yep. And a lot of the diehard metalheads, it's like, I don't want my Metallica doing a country song. They were one of the first ones to do that. And then you had like Aaron Lewis from Staind. Yeah. He's went country, and Bon Jovi did a country record.
Yep.
And Def Leppard did one with Taylor Swift. They did kind of one of those deals where they play each other's songs.
Yep.
And Hootie and the Blowfish guy. So I mean, other people, it's a lot more acceptable now for Corey Taylor from Slipknot just did an acoustic record.
Yep.
It's a lot more acceptable now than it was in 96. So yeah, totally ahead of their time on that one.
Yep. Oh yeah, no doubt. And like I said, I mean, you just like, people consider this album so bad, but like I said, I find it going to my it's one of my go-to records that I love to listen to. And I think and when we do part 2 of this, I really think the album kind of takes a shift, the back half of the record or whatever. And I'll explain that when we do part 2 or whatever. But
okay.
But yeah, I enjoy talking about this record, man, because
I did too. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, because you get a lot of people, man, that love, and I don't know why, but they love the hate on this record, man. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, I said, you hate on this record, but yet you'll go out and you'll listen to, I'll give you an example, Megadeth. You would go out, oh, I love Cryptic Writing, but I hate Load. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, or, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, or really, I mean, if you kind of look at it, and I want to say this, and it's, but I kind of noticed that trend in Megadeth after Countdown to Extinction. And even though Euthanasia was, it was a metal album, it had all those metal tracks on it, but it had that kind of, you could kind of see it going towards Cryptic Writing on that record. And so, I mean, I
And
honestly think Cryptic Writing was an album ahead of its time.
I don't mind Risk either. Risk is kind of the Reload, Saint Anger of Megadeth's catalog, and I like it. I think it's got some. I mean, there's one or two on there I don't like, but
Yeah.
it's not a throwaway by any parts.
No. I mean, that's.
So,
I mean, it had. It's funny. You got to think about it though, because at one time, and we're both pro wrestling fans, and at one time that was Goldberg's entrance music was Crush 'Em.
I remember Megadeth being on WCW.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I mean, it's it's one of those things where I just don't get it, man. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, as we're winding down here with our full hour, I look very much forward to part 2, brother. We're gonna try to get that up in the next week or so.
Okay, sounds good
to
me.
Don't everybody, if you're watching this and still with us, hit like, hit subscribe, and part 2 is coming up. And comment on what you think of the album and the songs we've covered so far. We'd love to hear your feedback as well.
Yep. Exactly. You couldn't have said it better. I couldn't. Go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say this is a lot of fun, and I can't wait to finish the album. Like you said, part 2 of it is a totally different beast.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah.
All right, take us home, brother.
Okay. Well, again, this is Podcast of the Beholder. I'm Bill, and this is my co-host and good friend Chuck. And I just want to say, like and subscribe and watch our videos. We try to bring you the best of what we can when we talk about these albums, because we're fans like everybody else, and we're not professional music critics, but then again, what do they really know? You know what I'm saying?
Fans talking to fans about fan stuff.
That's right. That's it. And so just support our page, and even if it's not an album you care much about, just give it a chance, and maybe we have a perspective that no one else has done, and that's what I really like about doing this podcast. And, my brother here, and I'm glad, we're back and we're doing this, and, I'm having a blast, and I just can't wait for part 2.
Yeah, I can't wait to. So it was fun. Have a good evening, sir, and we'll see everybody soon.
All right. Take it easy, brother.
All right.